When I took the stand I did on legalizing and controlling marijuana, for example, that was very much based on the evidence that our current approach isn't working, that our young people are finding it too easy to access marijuana than they should and than they do anywhere else around the world.
Year-end interviews with the Liberal leader, Justin Trudeau. Of course, that was CTV's Bob Fife conducting that interview. He, of course, wants evidence-based issues to be brought to the forefront. Hello, everyone. I'm Adrienne Batra. Thanks very much for staying with us here at Sun News. Evidence-based when it comes to prostitution laws and marijuana. Anthony Furey, Marissa Semkiw, our Sun News contributors, are here to break this one down for us. Anthony, let me start with you. Whenever I hear Justin Trudeau say something like evidence-based, I kind of roll my eyes because I'm not going to be rude, but I just don't think that he perhaps grasps the larger context of what he's talking about.
Well, whenever anybody uses that term evidence-based decision-making, they're just picking up on a new trendy buzzword that's sort of left-wing academic stuff to suggest, oh, what we say is based on the facts and everything everyone else says is complete hogwash. So I write them off from that angle, but I do actually agree with Justin Trudeau on both his positions towards marijuana and prostitution. And I've always thought it's unfortunate that Prime Minister Harper hasn't been more, I think, conservative in getting the government out of those two issues. And I've been unapologetic and aggressive on that for years.
All right, Marissa Semkiw.
I mean, Justin Trudeau's evidence-based politics, I mean, what does that really mean? If you translate it, actually means I don't want to take a political position on this, specifically when it comes to prostitution. And I would ask you, Anthony, what is Justin Trudeau's position on prostitution? He actually hasn't said. There aren't a lot of alternatives to Bill C-36, which is what the Conservatives proposed, other than legalization. If that's what Justin Trudeau wants, is legalization of prostitution, come out and say it.
All right, well, he wants more evidence. Let's have a listen to what he said about that very issue.
So if prostitution is a form of violence against women, which you've said, should we not try to deter people from purchasing sex?
I think there's a lot of different ways of doing it. People have put forward different models, and what we feel is that the government in its approach right now isn't living up to what the Supreme Court asked it to do.
Would you include criminalizing the purchase of sex in that?
I think there's a lot of different ways of doing it. The most important thing to do is to make sure that we're following the Supreme Court's guidance, with which this government certainly hasn't done with this bill.
Okay, Marissa, that was an interview you conducted just a few months ago. So translate that.
Well, it was in response to comments Justin Trudeau had made back in January of 2014, I believe. And it was when he suggested that prostitution itself is inherently a form of violence against women. So if you believe that prostitution, intrinsic in the prostitution industry, is violence against women, why would you want to do anything other than criminalize the purchase of sex?
All right, Anthony, let's, since we're all still trying to figure out exactly what, because I agree with you. I think Trudeau picks up on these buzzwords and he uses things like, let's look at these things through a lens. Those are all, feely good, touchy-feely type of words. But what is it that, you're critical of the Harper government, I mean, far more articulate than Trudeau was. What is it that you think they should be doing?
Marissa is right that Trudeau does not have any real cohesive position towards prostitution. When I say I agree with him, I mean I agree with him becoming more like me,
right?
In the positions that he holds. I mean, the main challenge is what I want to see right now is that we get that percentage of prostitutes and johns, whichever percentage it is, that is otherwise law-abiding and just engaging in safe, consensual sex commerce, and therefore we get them out of the legal nexus and we double down our efforts in going after human trafficking and sex slavery and child abuse that also exist in that prostitution realm. That's what I'd like to see, and I think that would be a very noble conservative approach, because you're also letting consenting adults do what they want to do, but you're also being tough on crime.
But your issue is with the fact of prostitution in general, right? I mean, the purchase and sale of sex.
You agree with the radical feminazis who think it's inherently violence against women.
I really don't know why you think these people that right now are breaking the law would somehow become all these upstanding law-abiding citizens. See, here's the thing, Anthony, is you adhere to this philosophy or school of thought that sees any type of law that is legitimate on the basis of upholding some sort of standard of morality as a threat to our freedom. But, and...
Yeah, because anyone's morality could suddenly be imposed on me any day if you allow that schema to dictate our legislation.
But there are laws that are entirely based on morality. Do not kill, do not steal, do not rape children.
Those aren't based on morality.
Of course
do not murder is not based on morality. It's based on the fact that you can't universalize the principle. You're violating someone's liberty by murdering them. It's not a moral edict. It's just the fact that you've destroyed someone's life.
I'm just not prepared to see society, because ultimately that's what would happen. You legalize prostitution, it becomes just like any other industry that's legalized. You've got, executives, you've got people that are taxed, you see billboards, you've got advertising in magazines, in newspapers, and I'm not
All that
prepared
already
to,
happens
and
right
I'm
now.
not prepared to live in a society where that is ubiquitous, where that is rampant.
Well, I think most people would agree with that. I think most
I think
Canadians
it already is
agree with
ubiquitous and rampant.
And I think that a lot of people talk about legalizing prostitution. They've got people like Anthony Furey chirping at them saying, oh no, this is an infringement on our freedoms and it's going to make prostitutes safe. But this is an industry that is inherently dangerous. And I also think that people actually don't realize what legalization would do. It would. They think that it would remain underground. They don't have to see it if we legalize it. Let's legalize it because it'll make it safer. But ultimately, I wouldn't have to look at this type of thing. No, it would be ubiquitous. You would have billboards. You would have advertisements. You would have people on
They
street
already
corners
exist.
selling their
All
bodies.
that already exists.
No,
It all
first of all,
exists
it's
right
illegal.
now. It's just run by mafia and biker gangs and all sorts of other unsavory individuals. It all exists right now.
If it's legalized,
you look at the back pages of half the magazines in
if
this
it's
town.
legalized, it would be in your face. And that's one of the things that conservatives tried to do, is they're now banning the advertising of sex in newspapers.
You think the market is such that there's a desire among like the masses for it to be in your face everywhere all the time? Because the only reason that would happen,
Absolutely.
if there was a
Absolutely.
prostitute on every corner and every second billboard was one for prostitution, that would simply mean that that's the supply and demand of society. And we got bigger questions to ask about our community and our sons and brothers and so forth. It has nothing to do with the legal network. If it's going to be everywhere, it's because people want it to be everywhere, and then that's the conversation we got to have.
Well, let's talk about supply and demand for a second. Is there enough demand, or is there enough supply to meet the demand that would ultimately occur as a result of legalization? There's
you
another
believe
concern.
so you believe you're saying to the folks at home that they desire prostitution right now, and once it's legal, bam, they're going to go and they're going to try and get as many prostitutes as they can.
I think once you reduce,
you think there's a
I
whole
think
bunch
once
of
you
guys out there
I
who are
think-
like, come
I
on,
think
we got to do
You are
this.
naive if you think that if you legalize it and it reduces the stigma, there won't be an uptick in people requesting prostitution.
I don't know if we know to what degree that will happen, though. We don't.
Well, we saw it with marijuana in Colorado.
We have not. We haven't seen long-term trends to dictate the upticks on that.
But there have been some suggestions that in jurisdictions where prostitution has been legalized, it hasn't been as I don't know. The
I've never
successful is
said
not
it's
the
going to
word.
be rosy and rainbows and
No,
lollipops.
but
I've
you're-
never
and this
said
is
it's
a-
going to be
and
a
this
great
is-
future.
And this is about the type of society we want to live in. Are you prepared to say to your son and daughter, this is a legitimate form of occupation?
You've gotten to the key issue. Yes, it's a family issue. It's a community
Yes.
issue. It's not a legal issue. I am not saying I want there to be more prostitution. I want there to be prostitution happening. I'm saying when two individuals get together and do something and trade $10 for doing it, they're both happy about it, no one's getting hurt, I don't want to pay the tax dollars to put them in jail. That is all I am saying. I don't need my money being wasted to violate other people's liberties. Do I want my daughter to become a 24/7 prostitute? Of course not. But that's not what I'm advocating here. I'm
But you're advocating
not
legalization.
throwing the book at people.
But you're advocating legalization, which entirely reduces the stigma, which sends the message that the government is okay with the buying and selling of people's bodies.
So you
as
think
chattel.
morality is brought by the government, and you think that children should be taught morality by the government rather than by their parents
No,
and
but
the
I am
family and the
concerned.
community?
But I am
because
concerned
that
about
is
the
how
message.
I relay
but
morality
I am
onto
concerned about the
people.
message it would send if you legalize something like this.
It's up to the family, it's up to faith groups, it's up to everyone to introduce their moral standards.
Let's scale back the tape a little bit for a moment. We are going into an election this year. What is the upside, shall we say, putting aside whatever philosophical position or personal position you may have on the issue? In general, Canadians, I think, find it uncomfortable. They're not prepared to have
Definitely.
the legalization discussion. Why would Justin Trudeau even go down this road? What is the upside here for him? Try to explain that to me.
I think he is answering to a more fringe network of people, and he loves to say, I'm not Stephen Harper, and he'll do anything it takes at his peril. I think the marijuana issue is a winner, and I think there are people all on the political spectrum who, even if they don't like it, say, what do I care? And I think Stephen Harper would be politically savvy to loosen the marijuana laws, but also to say, but I don't approve or whatever, so he still gets his street cred for being anti-marijuana. The prostitution thing, I don't think it's a political winner. I don't think what I'm arguing
Yeah.
right now, while people write to me and say, I agree, I don't think you can win at the ballot box.
On marijuana, Marissa?
Why do I? Well, I think marijuana to Anthony's point, I do think it may be an issue, although it could be a winning issue for Trudeau, although the NDP and Conservatives have both been vocal about decriminalization. That's a path that they are both interested in going down. So is legalization the right option? Will people actually backtrack from the Liberals because of their sort of extreme position on marijuana? On prostitution, why would Justin Trudeau go down this route? There aren't enough pro-prostitution people to vote for him. I don't think it would sway a vote in any particular way. It would sway the election results in any particular way. I think a lot of it has to do with the recent comments we've heard from Premier Wynne, how she's calling on her provincial attorney general to review the constitutionality of the bill. Perhaps he wants to stand in line with her. These are all things that I think the Liberals are considering.
And he doesn't have a logically consistent position like Marissa and I have, for instance.
Right.
It's a kind
or
of bizarre.
a thoughtful debate.
It's really not wise for him politically.
He's too fearful of coming out and saying that he would support legalization.
But he wants evidence-based things focused
Whatever
through
that
lenses.
means.
I don't
Through
know what that
space-time
means.
continuums.
Whatever that means.